other people feel about me? Why am I spending an entire life managing everything so that people will like me if I can't control it at the end of the day anyway? Hi everybody, Allison Gardner here. Welcome to take number 7. Throughout the last 3 years, I realized that's not a long time. It feels like a long time to me. There's a lot of life packed into it. In my past 3 years, I have been part of different mentoring groups and mastermind groups and training groups that all taught me a lot and have helped me grow and develop in lots of amazing ways. And I remember being in those groups and listening in those groups about how perfectionism would come up for people, because the assignment would be film a video of a golden nugget, film a video of something you've learned, film a video of a story that you have. And I would hear everyone in the group talk about how it was so hard. Like it just felt like this ginormous, huge task that just was overwhelming to them to even do it. And I would sit down and I would do it in one take and be done and submit and be like, yep, I did it. It's great. And not because I thought that I was that amazing, but because I was just like, I love being in front of the camera. I love telling a good story. I love sharing something that I learned, and I just did it. And now today, I am sitting in front of a camera at take 6. Trying to figure out how to tell this story, try and tell about where I'm coming from, and finally realizing that when it's just you, all of you, in front of a camera, and it's a story that you care about so much and is so your story, now I get why it was hard. I committed to myself last video I was going to make it through, and I couldn't do it because what I wanted to share had come off so poorly, and it just wasn't right yet that here I am on take 6 or 7 or whatever, to tell the story of what it is to be yourself. To tell the story of what it is to take off the frills, to take off all of the things, and to be gloriously yourself. I have been searching my entire life for this. Always knowing that I was different, always knowing that I was unique and that I had my own story to tell. And as life happened, layer after layer after layer piled on, and more things happened. And eventually it came to the point where I stopped looking for me. I stopped looking for what made me me, what made me different. And I just started doing things that made things easier. I wanted to be safe over being unique. And I started doing things other people's way. I told you how I would do videos because they said, give me a story, so I would give a story. They said, teach a principle, so I'd teach a principle. And all along knowing that something was off, but not knowing what it was. And finally I met a friend who walked me through a limiting belief discovery. And I couldn't even tell you everything that led up. I just knew that I was feeling really frustrated and I was feeling really uptight about things. And she's like, let's dive into this. Let's take a look. And one day I will talk about the process. But today, the important part is actually one day I think we'll talk about the process, my friend and I. But for today, I'm just going to talk about what I found. And what I found was a scared 8-year-old girl who I had come in from recess and everybody in class came filing in. We were a little bit late. we were coming from some other thing and we were a little bit late, and we kind of rushed into the room, and my second grade teacher says, "Okay, everybody, get your pencils." And everybody went scrambling to find their pencils, and I said, "Wait." I said, "It's that Wednesday of the month when we have loft day." And we go up to the loft, and the librarian reads to us. We stay away from the back row, the banister, and the loft, but we scoot up close to the librarian, and she reads to us. And so my second grade teacher and my second grade class went, "Right, that's the Wednesday that this is." And they came hustling to line up at the door, leaving all of our pencils behind. And we marched to the library and get all set in the library. And the librarian looks us all over and says, "Wait! Where are your pencils? You came to the library, where are your pencils?" And someone said, "Well, we don't have our pencils today." She said, "Well, why not?" Every kid in that class whipped their head around to stare at me. And they said, "Allison told us we didn't need our pencils." And the librarian mumbled under her breath, "Well, today you did, because I had a worksheet and I had moved things around, but none of you had them." And so we marched up to the loft day. For loft day. We marched up to the loft for loft day. And can I just tell you that that was one of the most uncomfortable moments of my life. I went on and I told that story at normal speed like it happened. But for me, time stopped. And everybody stared. And everybody just looked at me and went, "You got us in trouble because of what you said, because of what you did. It is all your fault. We're in trouble." And even though I don't think that anybody else in that class at all even probably remembers that, if I were to ask, "Do you remember that day when that happened?" they'd probably be like, "What are you talking about?" That is the day that I remember. That is the day that I remember so well. And that was the day that I remember, distinctly remembering, putting one of my first layers on. Because up to that point, I was so excited. I was excited to have the right answer. I was excited to know things. I just loved being in the know. Not because I was a gossip, not because I wanted to share anything, but just because I loved being in the know and being able to help people with what I knew. It was just like my thing. And so that day, I reached out to help people with what I knew. And I got us into trouble. And on that day, I learned trying to help, trying to be my best self, doing my best with what I knew, wasn't good enough. And so at that point, I decided that I was going to do that out of fear so that I wouldn't get in trouble again, instead of doing it because I enjoyed it. I don't know that I consciously walked my 8-year-old self through that process, but that was the result. And that's just one example of what happens to us day after day. The thing is as human beings, it's part of our instinct to be part of a group. That's how you survive, is being part of a group. Getting along with other people, looking good to other people are all the things that we use to fit in. And we want so badly to fit in. And as we grow up, part of our adaptability is to observe and to do it differently if that didn't work. And so I have a whole lifetime of things where I did something one way, I totally saw that it did not give me the result that I wanted. And so I hid the part of me that was what I wanted to do. So I hid the part of me that wanted to do something, and I did what was expected instead. And the thing is there are a world full of people who want to tell us exactly how we should do things. There are a world full of people that have suggestions and ideas and commands and do it this way. I mean, every ad you see on Facebook or Instagram is do it this way and you'll have success. That was the trap that I fell into. I was surrounded by a ton of people who just wanted to help me. I mean, they just wanted to help, but they kept telling me, do it this way. Do it my way. Look, I was successful. Do it my way and you'll be successful. But the thing is I'm not them and you're not them. We are a world full of unique people with unique goals, unique skill sets, unique understanding, unique perspective. We are all our own being. And God intended it to be that way. And the only way that and I know that I'm about to tell you something. I know we're all unique, and I know that I'm still, even having said that, about to tell you something. This isn't I told you. You can choose to do whatever you want. But what I learned, even as I'm sitting here, terrifying, thinking of all of the rules that I once heard about how to make a good YouTube video, and you have to have a hook, and you have to take your hook from this part and put it at the beginning, and then you have to do these things so that everybody will be interested. And I'm running through that in my own head right now. Because we want so much to be liked. We want so much to receive approval. We want so much to be validated. That we add and we adapt all of these things that we hear from outside sources until there's no us anymore. Or we're so buried so far underneath that we don't know who we are anymore. And so you look and you search and you, in this effort to be liked, in this effort to fit in this effort to be okay, we add and we add and we add and we add until there's not a lot of us left. And at some point, I mean, you can keep living life like that. But what I realized is that I got to a point where I resented it. I got to the point where I didn't know who I was because I had tried to put so much stuff on myself to be safe, and none of it was me. Until one day I received an invitation to stand up as myself. And so I would invite you guys to think about, who are you under everything? Who do you want to be under the chameleon that you created to survive, that you created to try and fit, that you created to meet some expectation that you don't even know where it started? Who are you under all of that? And I know it's scary. I'm on take 7 of scary, and I'm still lecturing myself on how this video should have gone differently. But who are you under all of it? Who do you want to be under all of it? We are moving into the era of a world where we can't rely on anybody else's expectations or ideas of normal. All we've got is what we do well. All we've got is our own courage to be ourselves. I was talking to my therapist on Friday, and I was talking about so I'm writing a book, and I've discovered that a lot of people have a lot of input to give me about my book. Because everybody has an opinion, we all have ideas. And the opinions weren't bad, the ideas weren't bad, but they weren't my vision and they weren't what I wanted. And I was feeling really beat up. I was feeling really discouraged about how I was choosing to go about it, how I was choosing what I was choosing, what I wanted. And so I was just trying to talk it through, and my therapist has been invaluable in helping me love myself as myself, and because I realized that it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It doesn't matter what anybody else says or does. I can't control them. All I can do is control myself and know that my value and my worth hasn't changed no matter what. That's all that is the only things that are within my control. That my value and my worth haven't changed, and that I only have my own sphere and my own space to manage. That's it. And so I was talking about how I was feeling attacked and I was feeling uncertain, and how do I stand up for myself, and how do I express myself and share what's on my mind? And my therapist was just very quiet. And he just listened. And finally it hit me. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. I can't control what anyone else thinks, period. So why am I living my entire life trying to control what other people think about me, trying to control how other people feel about me? Why am I spending an entire life managing everything so that people will like me if I can't control it at the end of the day anyway? The thing is we live in a world where people aren't going to agree with us all the time or any of the time. We live in a world when there are lots of different opinions and lots of different ideas, but all we have is our own confidence and our own understanding of our worth and our value. And so I would invite you guys to think about that today, because it's a process. It's taken me 6, 7, 8 months to even realize that I was living my life in fear of what other people were thinking about how much they hated me or how much I didn't want them to if I just worked hard enough or I just did enough things. I don't want to live that way anymore. The first step is realizing that's how we're living. And the next step that I'm going to go on and talk about is how you actually go about building trust with yourself. Or at least my discovery that was the next step. I don't know that I really have all the answers, but I don't know if you guys got anything out of it, out of this video. I feel like I was all over the place, but I do know we have to start somewhere. I know that I had to start somewhere. This is where I started. And I really, now that I realize that I can't control anyone else, like the idea of at least me being my best self, the best that I can. I'll see you guys next time.